Esta es KBBF 89.1 FM Calistoga.
Rio, guess what? It's almost time for the North Bay Science Discovery Day again. It's going to be at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds.
Really? We went last year and it was a blast. What day is it?
Saturday, October 24th, from 10:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. There's going to be exhibits about how to build our own race cars and robots.
Are there going to be bottle rockets too? And are there going to be touch pools?
Yes, and we can code our own video games and see inside a helicopter and lots of other hands-on science.
Let's go tell Mom and Dad now. What day is it?
Saturday, October 24th, starting at 10:30 a.m. at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds. Admission and parking are free.
Cal Skate Funky Friday, a night of roller skating for adults, filled with disco, funk, and soul music played by KBBF's own DJ Broken Record and guest DJ One Hoop. Admission is $8 with skate rental included, and there will also be a pool table, games, and food for sale. Happening on Friday, October 16th from 10 p.m. until 1 a.m. at Cal Skate, 6100 Commerce Boulevard in Rohnert Park, California. This event is endorsed by KBBF 89.1 FM Calistoga.
La pista de patinaje Cal Skate presenta una noche de patinaje para adultos con música de soul, funk y disco programada por DJ Broken Record y DJ One Hoop, locutores de KBBF. También habrá juegos, mesas de billar y comida. La entrada cuesta $8 para patinar y se incluyen los patines. El evento será el viernes 16 de octubre desde las 10 de la Boulevard en Rohnert Park. Este evento está aprobado por KBBF.
Caminando, caminando. KBBF 89.1, contigo, ayer, hoy y siempre.
Hello, everybody. Again, you are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT News, Modern Perspectives, Roundtable Discussions, and Interviews. I am your host, Kaiya Kramer, and this is episode 62. My interview with OUTwatch LGBTQ Film Festival, which is actually coming up just this weekend. So if you'd like to hear that interview, stay tuned. That will be coming up in the next hour here. But right now you are listening to the news and perspectives portion of the show here, which I'm going to be covering some LGBT news and tech and productivity techniques from around the nation and world. And just to give you a little bit of the highlights that are going on. If you like this show, please visit thequeerlife.org where you can watch this show. Yes, I said watch. And we actually stream the show via Google Hangouts on air, so you can watch a live stream of the show. We've got cameras inside of the studio here, and if you're kind of frightened of Big Brother, there's cameras everywhere, you know. But we've got a web stream of the show available, so you can watch it on your phone. You can watch it while you're driving. No, I'm just kidding. You probably shouldn't watch it while you're driving. You should listen while you're driving on KBBF 89.1 FM Calistoga every Friday and Tuesday night from 6 to 8 p.m. and 9 to 11 p.m. on Tuesday. And you can also listen on KWTF 88.1 FM Bodega Bay, which has a web stream as well. If you visit their website, You can also subscribe to our podcast. Just if you use your favorite podcast app. If you're using an Android, there's the Podcast Addict app or Stitcher app. Or if you're on a good old iPhone, there's the Podcasts app that syncs up with your iTunes. And you can just search for The Queer Life and you can find the show. If you're having trouble finding it for whatever reason, we've got links to all the podcast links available on the website on thequeerlife.org. If you can't find thequeerlife.org or you're confused about what the exact URL is, just Google The Queer Life, the and queer and life, and you will find the show. Try to make it as accessible as possible. If you would like news updates and current events, follow our Facebook, facebook.com/thequeerlife, or tweet us at thequeerlife. And I always love seeing what questions and answers and complaints. I understand that I can't quite appease everybody, but I do my best. I try to swing from the middle as much as possible, or move people towards the middle. And if you are in the middle, I'll try to shake up the fence a little bit so you can try to get a little bit more knowledge here. And again, disclaimer, I am not a doctor. I am not a lawyer. This should not be considered mental health therapy. This should not be considered strict legal advice. This should not be considered medical advice. Again, consult your own doctor. And because your own doctor, not even WebMD or Dr. Google, that's not a real doctor either. Go talk to a real doctor. And if you are questioning your gender identity or sexual orientation, I actually have an exclusive list of local Sonoma County and San Francisco Bay Area gender specialists on the website under Get Help. So that list is it's up to date, and everybody has been vetted in some form or another in terms of them being able to handle gender identity and sexual orientation questions and requests. So that the resources are available. And as I've said on numerous shows before, my message out there is simple. You're not alone. And your struggle, no matter how difficult and how much adversity you are facing, whether it's in regards to your gender identity or your sexual orientation or just being a plain human, because that's like I keep saying, the show, if I didn't call it The Queer Life and I was trying to work from a niche angle, which is the LGBTQIA community, the LGBT community, I would just have a show called The Human Life, but or just life. It's because it's about being a human being and having to go through all the trials and tribulations that we as human beings do. But the show does focus on LGBTQIA issues, and it's my job to inform you of the things that are going on in the world, political movements that are happening, what people are doing in terms of their actions to further the LGBT cause or to cause it to go backwards. And it's all human rights. It's all fighting for equality. And I know a lot of you out there are going, well, if you haven't heard my show, if you listened regularly to my show, then you're probably okay. And you're probably already an ally, or you're probably thinking you should be an ally. And being an ally is very, very simple. It's just you don't have to get on any soapbox. You don't have to get on a radio show. You don't have to attend conferences and events or donate money. Just because you donate money doesn't necessarily mean you're the best ally in the world. It just means that you are an ally that happens to have money. Fantastic. Thank you. But being an ally goes in very many little simple ways. Like if you hear somebody using the word gay in a derogatory term, or using any other anti-gay slurs, homophobic slurs, you know what the bad words are when you're talking about somebody who is queer identified, or even using the word queer in a way that has a negative tone to it. If you hear people saying these things, speak up about it. Or if people are just joking around and even saying comments like, oh, well, that's cool, just as long as it's not, I don't want to get into what the specifics are. I don't want to have any triggers go off in the community. But just if you hear something that doesn't sound right, speak up about it. If you see something that doesn't look right, speak up about it. And you can anonymously help by if this is something that's happening at the workplace, just say something to your boss. Hey, so and so is doing this. I thought this was very inappropriate. I don't want my name mentioned or whatever. And a lot of people will respect that, because there's still people out there who are struggling with this, and there are a lot of negative associations that go with being queer identified. We still live in a society that sees that men who are more feminine, whether they're gay, straight, or eventually want to come out as a trans woman, is irrelevant. But we have these ideas about masculinity and femininity, and if anybody steps outside of those expectations, then they're called out for it. They're made fun of for it. Sometimes they're hurt for it physically. This stuff still happens. And I know from my own perspective as a transsexual woman that I experienced these things too. And yesterday was Spirit Day. GLAAD announced, wear purple, Spirit Day, to be against bullying. And I know as a child that I experienced a great deal of bullying at first myself. Everybody made fun of how feminine I was as a child, and everybody, I was pinned down. I was a little kid too, smaller than the other kids. And then I realized, as an intelligent person and somebody who doesn't like to be pushed around, that I didn't want to be the victim. So, as a kid, I became a bully. I picked on the kids. I said the things that the other kids said to me, and there were some people that were hurt by it. Of which I have gone to and apologized to them years later, like in high school. But that kind of stuff still stays with me, because I felt that the experience of having been bullied and bullying other people and feeling like I was less than for being feminine. And when you feel like that, you don't get the sense that you can behave in the way that feels natural to you. You don't get the sense that you can be the person that you truly are that feels natural to you. And that is extremely crippling in terms of a child's development. We've seen this time and time again. And I'm just talking about expression and being and identity. If a kid loves fire trucks as a kid, and you tell him, no, if you pick up a fire truck, you're going to be locked in your room, or you're not going to be able to do whatever, or you're going to get beat up. That could be somebody who wants to grow up to be a firefighter and really enjoys it. Or if it's a little girl and, she picks up a fire truck, oh no, girls don't play with that. Here, have a Barbie. Well, I obviously these examples are extremely blatant, but I think you understand what I'm saying here. It's allowing children to express themselves in the way that they feel is close to them. And, you can say, oh, well, sometimes kids are just mean to each other. But yes, that's true. Sometimes that happens. But the language that they learn, it comes from the adult world around them. And it's our responsibility as adults to set a good example for these kids to say, if you hear something that is derogatory towards somebody in terms of race, gender identity, sexual orientation, interests, demeanor, whatever, you shut it down. That's what being an ally is about. It's not letting blatantly hurtful behavior continue around you. And it's like this whole water crisis in California here. It's they didn't just ask certain people who are blatant water users to stop using waters in this drought. They asked everybody, hey, everybody has to do your part. And that's what I believe it has to do with equality and people's rights. Yes, I agree, this is reality, and we live on planet Earth, and there are mean people and there are bad things around the world, yeah. And so we also have to teach our kids that, yeah, they have to be tough. Like I had to be tough as a kid, but and be realistic about what's going to happen in the world. If you are a kid and you feel like you were born that you don't feel like the gender that you were assigned at birth, like if you were born a boy and you feel like a girl, you're going to experience some issues for a good chunk of your life because of the way the world is. If you are a woman and you like other women and you come from a very homophobic family background, you are going to experience issues in the world. But that doesn't mean you can't be lesbian. That doesn't mean that you can't be transgender. That doesn't mean that you can't enjoy your life and be the way that you want to be, because you're not defined by your sexual orientation or gender identity. It's just one piece of you. My being a transgender woman is just one piece of me. And that's something that I want to put out there. Everybody keeps, a lot of people I keep saying is like, oh, I'm okay with the gays, or, you know, or gay people, which, you know, there's more than just gay people, you know, gay women like prefer the term lesbian. Transgender women prefer the term transgender women over just being part of the gay community, because it's that's why I use the term the queer life, because it's the queer community. It's the LGBTQIA community. LGBTQIA stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, asexual, and allies. Yes, allies. If you are an ally, you're part of the community. You're helping us out. And it doesn't mean if you're cisgender or you're straight, doesn't mean you can't help. You are the most important person in the equation. If you're straight, we need you. The queer community needs you. I feel like an Uncle Sam here saying, we need you, straight people. We do, though. We need your help. And it's not the big stuff when people use bad words towards us. Yeah, the bad words hurt. It's all the little stuff. It's the little stuff and the little laws and the little things that make it so hard to navigate through the world without even just getting to the same issues that everybody else has. There's a couple more issues that we have to navigate, and you might say, oh, well, that's not that bad, or that's just the way that it is, or whatever. Yeah, that might be the way that it is, but we live in a constantly evolving world, and there's one of my favorite P words. It's called progress. If things were the same as they were 600 years ago, we'd still believe that the sun revolved around the earth. And for those of you that didn't know that, we have a heliocentric model, which means the earth revolves around the sun, and the sun is a star. I know, this is kind of mind-blowing. I mean, my point is, obviously, I'm not a science correspondent here. My point here is we have a chance to move forward. And It's not going to change overnight. It's not going to change in 1 year. It's not going to change in 10 years. It's going to take a long time for things to change, but we can make baby steps along the way. Isn't that what they tell you? Is don't feel like your progress is a drop in the bucket. I know that myself here. I come onto the radio. I sit in a studio here. I'm speaking into a microphone. I'm looking into a camera, and I don't have an audience in front of me. I mean, I have statistics. I know how many people are checking out the show. And I know a lot of people are affected by it through some of the messages, but there's a lot of you out there who are listening, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with not responding to an email or responding to a radio show and getting on the web. We all have lives to live, of course. But if I can just trigger something small in your head or just remind you to think, oh, well, you know what? My cousin, I think she might be lesbian, and I want to support her. Even if you're thinking that, that's awesome as a result of this increased awareness, because I truly believe that if we have this sense of increased awareness, increased mindfulness, increased presence of mind, that we can move through this as the Mayans called it the mitote, the chaos of the world. We can get past our petty human differences and become the great species that we as human beings are. I imagine us entering the Intergalactic Space Federation. Okay, I'm a huge sci-fi nerd, I admit. Once we discover light speed, we'll enter the Intergalactic Space Federation as one unified species, and people won't, and aliens won't say, "Oh, well, you seem to be discriminating against subsects of yourself pretty harshly. What's up with that? We got over that, 1,000 years ago. Get with the times." And so it's not going to happen overnight to develop a light speed, faster than light technology, but I think it's a lot quicker for us to be able to find a sort of peace of mind with our own existence as human beings. I'm really pleased with all of the amazing progress that we've had so far. The fact that we even have a Spirit Day where we are against bullying, because I think everybody on this planet can agree with the fact that bullying is bad. But bullying is not only just bad, it's if we can stop bullying in its tracks, we can save lives. We can create more effective citizens. And it's amazing. I mean, I remember hearing about in the city of San Francisco, they introduced meditation to the school districts, and they have they call it quiet time. And in this quiet time, a lot of the kids said that they felt at peace, and instances of bullying and fights and all that stuff went down. And they talked to some of the kids that were bullies and said, well, I feel a lot more peaceful now. I mean, this is simple and cheap stuff. I'm not talking about getting all hippy dippy and everybody hold hands and sing Kumbaya, but I'm saying that there's more we can do. And it comes down to advocacy, and it comes down to what we tell our children. It comes down to how we treat each other as adults. And it comes down to the things we say. And fortunately, there's no thought police yet, unless it's Minority Report and you're Tom Cruise and you haven't, and they've got pre-crime with the albino telepaths. But I'm digressing here. Let me give you a little bit of LGBT news right now. This piece I'm sharing with you right now is from Huffington Post, written by Nadia Agrawal. The TSA will no longer call trans travelers' body parts anomalies. Yeah, you heard me right. The Transportation Security Administration will no longer refer to transgender travelers' body parts, as in somebody's penis, as anomalies. Although that's what they called Neo in the Matrix, an anomaly. Well, that's kind of, I don't know. That might be kind of cool if somebody called me an anomaly. But anyway, this decision comes in the wake of a high-profile incident involving Shadi Potosky, who identifies as a trans woman. We actually interviewed her and live tweeting her experience of being detained for several hours by the TSA in Orlando. She was subjected to pat-downs and scanned for traces of explosives. Her story gave rise to a trending hashtag traveling while trans, which shows how often traveling regulations and the TSA's lack of gender-sensitive training have made transgender travelers feel unsafe or uncomfortable. Last week, 32 members of Congress signed an open letter to the TSA urging the agency to change its current protocols for screening transgender passengers. The letter recommended, among other things, that TSA body screenings not rely on subjectively chosen gender. Kimberly Walton, an assistant administrator at the TSA Office of Civil Rights and Liberty, told The Advocate that travelers are screened based on how they present their gender. The technology that we deploy, the best technology for the current and historical threat, does require the transportation security officer to either identify the person as a male or female, Walton said, and that technology, it does depend on human anatomy. And so in a situation where a transgender traveler is coming through the checkpoint, the decision is made based on the way the individual presents. TSA scanning machines use a gender-specific computer algorithm to screen passengers. When the machine finds a discrepancy with the gender selection made by the TSA agent, a yellow box referred to as an anomaly appears on the scan. The system will continue to highlight such discrepancies, but agents will no longer refer to them as anomalies. It remains unclear what the word the TSA will use instead, and a spokesman for the agency said it's working with a variety of trans and LGBT advocacy groups to find an acceptable replacement for the word anomaly. Harper Jean Tobin, Director of Policy of the National Center for Trans Equality, confirmed her organization is working with the TSA, but only in a limited capacity. The NCTE currently offers basic online cultural competence training for a, quote, small fraction of TSA agents. She said, but none of the agents who carry out body screenings have been asked to take it. We really have no knowledge of how much of their staff has received this training so far, Tobin told the Huffington Post. We're happy to help them do more of it, but ultimately we believe there are more basic changes they need to make their screening process effective. Fundamentally, Tobin said the TSA needs to reform how it screens for security threats. So their algorithm basically checks to see if there is the presence of penis in the crotch area of somebody who is passing through these detectors. And that's based upon the binary idea is that somebody who is presenting as female is going to necessarily not have a penis. And that's what this is built around. And if somebody who is, let's say in this case, a transgender man, somebody is assigned female at birth, but who identifies as a man, is going to, maybe he has a packer, which is a prosthetic penis in his pants to give the feeling and the look of a penis there. And this is common in the trans community. We're going to talk about this and more. You are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show. Next up will be NFL owner donates $10,000 to Houston's anti-LGBT referendum. That and more after this short break. You're listening to the Queer Life Radio Show.
KBBF 89.1 FM, conquistando tu corazón.
Porque somos la primera estación radio bilingüe en el norte de la bahía. KBBF 89.1 FM, la voz de la comunidad.
All right. Again, you are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews. I am your host, Kaiya Kramer, and this is episode 62, OUTwatch LGBTQ Film Festival, which I'll be interviewing in the next hour here. It is now 32 minutes after the hour on the first hour here, and this is the news and perspectives portion of the show. If you'd like to find out more information about this show and more, please visit thequeerlife.org, and you can watch or download a podcast of every single episode, all 62 episodes. I think that's you could drive partway across country and hear all the episodes if you wanted to. I actually probably don't recommend that. That's probably a little bit too much. You gotta decompress a little bit, maybe put some electronic music on. That's what I like to do. Anyhow, next up we have an article from advocate.com by Bill Browning. NFL owner donates $10,000 to Houston's anti-LGBT referendum. Bob McNair, owner of the Houston Texans, has donated $10,000 to the effort to repeal Houston's LGBT inclusive equal rights ordinance. While the NFL has been making strides to be more inclusive and welcoming of gay players and LGBT fans over the past few years, Houston Texans owner Bob McNair is running the ball in the other direction. McNair gave $10,000 to the effort to repeal Houston's LGBT inclusive human rights ordinance this week, according to the Houston Chronicle. As the Advocate has reported, opponents of the ordinance have focused primarily on the law's inclusion of transgender people, claiming the law will allow sexual predators to lurk in bathrooms to attack women. The claim uses transgender people as a boogeyman. No such crimes have been reported over the decades that LGBT inclusive human rights ordinance and laws have existed. There are actually no actual reported, defined, real occurrences of transgender women who have gone into transgender women as in those who are assigned male at birth, but those who identify as being female, a transgender woman. I am a transgender woman, and people are worried about them going in and preying on their little girls and sexually assaulting women. And this has never happened. Let me let that sink in a little bit. I see all this stuff out there about protecting our bathrooms and keeping quote unquote men out of the bathrooms, but it's just not happened. And they're saying, well, we don't want it to happen yet. You know, what if somebody goes in there, somebody decides to go in there, dress up as a woman and go in there and attack women? That happens that can happen anyway, whether this law is happening or not. What these laws are for is to allow transgender people to use the bathroom that they closely identify with. And a lot of you are saying, well, what if the other people are uncomfortable with having them there? Are there laws against somebody being a woman being too masculine in a bathroom? Oh, sorry, you sort of look like a man, but I am actually a woman. Oh, but you sort of look like a man, so you can't be in here. So people argue the below can address argument. So that there's a beauty standard to go in and use the bathrooms now. I've never heard of such a thing. And honestly, if we all of a sudden ordered all the transgender people to start using the gender bathrooms from the ones they were assigned at birth, let me tell you who would get hurt. It's the trans people. There are more occurrences there are so many ridiculous amounts of occurrences of violence against transgender people in bathrooms. Because either a trans woman was told that she couldn't use the women's, so she used the men's, and then the trans woman gets raped in the man's bathroom because she was told to go in there. I can't make this stuff up. This happens, and it's disgusting. I'm just gonna put that out there. It really is disgusting, and it's a matter of safety. Trans people don't want to hurt anybody. We're just trying to live our lives. And I mean, maybe I'm getting a little bit close to this, but it's a part of basic existence. And if we're not allowed access to using the facilities, then it's going to make us less effective citizens. It's going to make us harder to go through and do the things that we need to do. And this article continues, as the advocate has reported, opponents of the ordinance have focused primarily on the law's inclusion of transgender people, claiming the law will allow sexual predators to lurk in the bathrooms to attack women. Most local businesses and celebrities have spoken out in favor of the ordinance, but McNair's cash infusion comes just weeks before the city election to decide the law's fate. Tony Perkins, leader of the Family Research Council, an anti-LGBT organization listed as a quote-unquote hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center, trumpeted the donation in an email to supporters. It reads, "A longtime conservative, the football mogul jumped into the fight with just a few weeks left until the city's vote. Like so many locals, he's strongly against forcing local businesses to swallow their beliefs and celebrate sexual immorality. No doubt McNair is also shaking his head at the thought of giving grown men the green light to share bathrooms, locker rooms, and public showers with young girls, simply because they identify as another gender. With a $10,000 donation, he and Major League Baseball's Lance Berkman helped put to rest the notion that high-profile Texans all line up behind the ordinance." Berkman, a former star player of the Houston Astros, appears in a recent political ad opposing the ordinance. Quote, "I played professional baseball for 15 years, but my family is more important." The six-time All-Star says in the spot, quote, "My wife and I have 4 daughters. Proposition 1 would allow troubled men who claim to be women to enter women's bathrooms, showers, and locker rooms. It's better to prevent this danger by closing women's restrooms to men rather than waiting for a crime to happen. Join me to stop the violation of privacy and discrimination against women." Hero supporters have warned that repealing the ordinance could have financial and public relations repercussions similar to the outcry after Indiana passed a, quote, religious freedom law intended to allow businesses to discriminate against LGBT people. Houston is set to host the 2017 Super Bowl, but supporters say repealing Hero could jeopardize the event. Richard Carlbaum, a campaign manager for Houston Unites, pointed to the many supporters of the ordinance, telling the Chronicle the, quote, vast majority of Houston business interests taking a position on Proposition 1 support it. They know discrimination is bad for business and bad for the city's image. Over time, companies, including sporting franchises, will stop wanting to come here. I'm going to play for you a brief audio clip of the baseball player Berkman, former star player for the Houston Astros, and his commercial against having trans women in the bathroom. And I'm going to play that for you right here. And again, if you want links to all this stuff, I've got all the sources available on thequeerlife.org. This is episode 62. You're on KBBF 89.1 FM.
I played professional baseball for 15 years, but my family is more important. My wife and I have 4 daughters. Proposition 1 would allow troubled men who claim to be women to enter women's bathrooms, showers, and locker rooms. It's better to prevent this danger by closing women's restrooms to men rather than waiting for a crime to happen. Join me to stop the violation of privacy and discrimination against women. Vote no on Proposition 1. No men in women's bathrooms, no boys in girls' showers or locker rooms.
All right, there's the short clip of a commercial that Berkman, former star player for the Houston Astros, did in regards to Proposition 1 in Texas. But let me just again comment on that. And he says he doesn't want men in women's bathrooms. As a transgender woman, I agree. I don't want men in women's bathrooms either. And now you might be wondering, okay, well, you're a trans woman. Why? You're a transsexual. Why wouldn't you want men in women's bathrooms? The thing is, when you're transgender, you don't identify. If you're a trans woman, you don't identify with being a man. The thing with trans people being able to use the bathrooms, you have to identify and be clinically diagnosed as transgender for you to have the ability to use that bathroom. If you're a trans woman, you can't just go and do it. You know, it's not a simple thing in terms of living and being transgender. And it takes a lot of a presence, mind, and understanding for a trans person to even muster up the courage to walk out that door and be the person that they feel that they should be. And these are roadblocks. Let me tell you what, to every single trans person that I've talked to, and I've talked to many hundreds of trans people, thousands of trans people, what they do in the bathroom. They go to the bathroom. It's simple. Oh, you might think, oh, well, these are actually men. Or they might still have a penis. Does it affect you going to the bathroom if the woman in the stall next to you has a penis? Does it? Let's put it on the other side. If a transgender man goes in the bathroom, you know, say he's all bearded and muscly and tattooed. I'm speaking in cliches here. This is not every single trans man. And he goes to the urinal next to you, and instead of pulling his penis out to pee, he has a device that allows him to pee while standing up. Is that a problem to you? Does that make it so that you can't go to the bathroom anymore? I know that a lot of you people listening out there either have personal reservations or feel like, oh, well, what if it's a local swim center and there's a lot of little girls in there and there's a trans woman that's, you know, not quote unquote very passable and she goes in. I've known trans women who people deemed quote unquote not passable who've had surgery. And one of them was telling me that, they went into the locker room and somebody complained about them. And then one of the staff employees came in and said, "Hey, are you in the right locker room?" And showed that she had a vagina, that she had had surgery. Do we have to show you what genitals we have to prove to you that we're in the right place? And no, this is not about trans people needing to have a separate bathroom or a separate locker room. The logistical and financial barriers that make that are absurd. And the idea is not for us to be put in a different place. It's for us to assimilate into society. That's very, very simple. But again, I'm just putting the information out there. I'm sharing a perspective with you, and I'm leaving it up to you to make your own decisions about what you think is right. And I recommend that if you are still questioning or still concerned and still wondering, have you talk to a trans person and get the chew it out with a trans person. If you need help finding a trans person to talk to, you can visit thequeerlife.org and shoot me an email, and I can find somebody who can sit down and explain some of these things to you and help give some information. There's plenty of people in the trans and queer community who are thrilled to want to spread a little bit more knowledge. And that's just all part of it. Just increasing more knowledge out in the world. Next app up here is a little bit of productivity for you. It's from Kristen Wong on lifehacker.com, one of my favorite sites. It's boost your professional reputation by always showing up 5 minutes early. When you show up late, people usually assume you're disorganized, inconsiderate, and kind of flaky. Whatever the reason for your tardiness, although valid, these are the knee-jerk judgments that run through a person's mind when you are tardy. But look at the bright side. Showing up early can be very powerful. If you want to make a good impression, there's one simple thing you can do that makes a huge difference. Show up to every commitment 5 minutes early. Entrepreneur Adam Torin explains it this way. Quote, being on time is more than just a habit. It's a character trait. People who are habitually late are demonstrating a variety of qualities that don't work well in entrepreneurship. Being on time isn't exactly groundbreaking advice, but the takeaway here is more about how impactful punctuality can be. As quick to judge as people are about tardiness, they'll have the same snap judgments when you're early. Only those judgments are positive ones. You are organized, determined, dependable, and all you had to do is show up a few minutes early. That's from Kristen Wong on lifehacker.com. Got that article and more available on thequeerlife.org. You're listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, episode 62. I interview with OUTwatch LGBTQ Film Festival, which is coming up at the top of the next hour here in KBBF 89.1 FM, Calistoga. And next up is from Nick Duffy on pinknews.co.uk. Hillary shuts down Republican who thinks it's fine to fire someone for being gay. Hillary Clinton has hit out as a Republican presidential candidate who claimed that there is no need for laws outlawing homophobic workplace discrimination. Libertarian Republican Rand Paul candidate was asked at a campaign event this week whether he believes an employer should be able to fire people for being gay or trans. He responded, quote, I think really the things you do in your house, if you could just leave those in your house, they wouldn't have to be part of the workplace, to tell you the truth. He claimed of outlawing workplace, quote, "What happens is it sets up a whole industry for people who want to sue. So if you happen to be gay and you get fired, now you have a reason you can sue them." Quote, "I don't know that we need to keep adding to different classifications to say the government needs to be involved in the hiring and firing. The feeling when a GOP candidate says it's acceptable to be fired for being gay," Hillary Clinton tweeted that recently at Hillary Clinton. However, Democratic hopeful Hillary Clinton hit back in animated form. The former Secretary of State took to Twitter, writing that feeling when a GOP candidate says it's acceptable to be fired for being gay. She added a GIF of herself shaking her head and saying no. Paul has since attempted to walk back his comments despite his original comments being caught on camera. He now claims, quote, "I don't think anybody should be fired for being gay. I also believe that your personal life should be personal and shouldn't affect anyone firing you. I don't think the decision to hire or fire you should be based on things from your personal life. When I say it should remain in your house, I don't think it should be part of the decision-making part of the process. I might have been able to word it better." Despite claiming he, quote, "doesn't think anybody should be fired for being gay," Paul continued to oppose the Democrat-backed Equality Act, which would actually stop this kind of thing from happening, from people being fired for being gay, which, honestly, I agree. It should have nothing to do with the hiring or firing process. But if somebody is not hired or that they are fired for being queer, for being LGBT, you should be able to sue them. That is straight up discrimination. There's no other word in the English dictionary. I'm sure there is another word probably, but that describes it better. It's discrimination. If you are not hiring somebody, or if you fire somebody based upon based upon their race, based upon their gender, based upon their sexual orientation, based upon their culture, that's discrimination. Not that long ago, we weren't hiring people into jobs because they were of color. Not long ago, we were firing people because they were of color. That's still going on. If you're gay, if you're lesbian, if you're bisexual, if you're transgender, if you're queer, if you're questioning, if you're intersex, if you're asexual, this is still going on. And I know I'm speaking from my little bubble here up in Sonoma County, north of San Francisco, and this bastion of queer freedom in the state of California. This stuff still goes on around here. And the way it goes on is so insidious and goes right under the radar that sometimes it's so hard to prove it, but you know it. And all I'm asking for in this show and presenting this news and all this information for you is awareness. All it takes is a little bit of presence of mind and seeing the world for what it is and for what's going on and calling people on it. Next up here is an article from Neil Broverman on advocate.com. Westboro Baptist Church to protest the workplace of Kim Davis. Yeah, you heard me right. The Westboro Baptist Church is protesting Kim Davis. Members of the Kansas-based Westboro Baptist Church are threatening to picket the Rowan County Courthouse where Kim Davis works on Monday. Joe My God reports Davis is the county clerk jailed for repeatedly refusing to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples in her small Kentucky county. While many homophobic organizations have rallied around Davis and turned her law-breaking into a cause to celebrate, Westboro doesn't feel so warmly toward her. The group objects to Davis's numerous marriages and claims she's an adulterer, calling her a, quote, fake Christian in a tweet, which may be worse in their eyes than homosexuality. Westboro said the following through a press release. Quote, Kim claims that she has lived in proud sin for many years, divorcing and remarrying, not one time or two times. In fact, you need a scorecard to keep track. Her lawyers, being smooth-talking fellows, say that all that was before her call to salvation 2 years ago, when her current mother-in-law died. Nice, tidy cleaver, but no cigar. These matters are not hard and unclear. That man that Kim Davis is living with and calling her husband is not. Her husband is Dwayne Wallace, who she married when she was 18 years old. It does not matter how many years you pile on. It was adultery at the beginning, and it was adultery in the middle, and it is indeed adultery today. If Kim Davis received mercy from God and grace as she claims, she would, with all due haste, put her sin away. She would mourn for her sins, and in a show of great mercy, she would be busy apologizing to the expletive for gay people for enabling them, and she would, with all diligence, give those perverts a marriage license. See these words of Bible doctrine and be instructed and obey. These words would bind the heart of a servant of God, and only good works would follow. Kim Davis hates these words and has decided that her adultery is less sin than the sin of the Sodomites. That was the Westboro Baptist Church commenting on a homophobic county clerk from Rowan County in Kentucky for not issuing same-sex marriage licenses. And they're calling her on something else. I will mention that I've been very careful not to focus on that issue because I think that has nothing to do with her being homophobic. That's her personal life, and I make no judgments on it, but apparently the Westboro Baptist Church is. Anyhow, you are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews. It is now 4 minutes till the top of the hour, and we're going to go away for a short break, but we'll be right back for an interview with OUTwatch LGBTQ Film Festival producers Jody and Shad. Be right back after this short break. Thanks so much for listening.
You are listening to KBBF 89.1 FM Calistoga, Santa Rosa. यहाँ आप सुन रहे हैं KBBF FM Calistoga, Santa Rosa.
Saturday, October 24th, join KBBF for our second ever Trunk or Treat. Lowrider cars, live DJ music, food, drinks, and candy for kids. There will be a costume contest, so dress up to impress. Admission is free for all. Saturday, October 24th from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. at 1700 Corby Avenue in Santa Rosa. This is a fundraiser for KBBF Radio. For more information, call 707-545-8833.
Estás escuchando KBBF 89.1 FM, Radio Cultura.
All right. Hello, everybody. Again, you are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews. I am your host, Kaiya Kramer, and this is episode 62, my interview with OUTwatch LGBTQ Film Festival with Jody and Shad, who I have sitting in the studio right here with me. And it's I'm really glad that they could come here and share what they're about to share. Jody Lane and Shad Reinstein have been partners for over 30 years. They are two of the three co-producers of OUTwatch Wine Country's LGBTQI Film Festival. And there's much more of this bio, to which obviously I'm reading, but you can visit thequeerlife.org, episode 62, to find the rest of their bio and links to the rest of the film festival and the programming that's going on here. I'm going to bring them onto the air right now. Jody and Shad, thank you so much for joining me this evening.
And thank you for having us. Yeah, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, so I am just, first off, I'm curious. Why the heck do we need an LGBT film festival?
So I think that one of the things that happens is that we don't really get to see ourselves very much on TV or in movies, and that doing this allows us to not only see ourselves here in the United States, but in other countries. This year at our film festival, we're showing five different countries. The United States, we're showing Thailand, Venezuela, Canada, and Australia. And each of those have great films about LGBTQI people, and we see different things, like things that we would assume were going to be a problem aren't in other countries.
That is so incredible. Thank you. And the question that I ask every single guest on my show to set the context is, first off, what are your preferred gender pronouns, gender identity, and sexual orientation?
Okay, I am a woman. I prefer she. I'm a butch woman. I'm a butch lesbian. At points in my life, people have assumed I was a man, but I'm not. I've always said I was a woman. And I've been very gender fluid. And I'm a lesbian. This is gender. Also gender female. And I butch type. And generally, I answer with she. Also people by women.
Thank you so much for answering this question. And again, what were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to say one other thing, which is to start the interview off, to explain what LGBTQI means, because a lot of folks don't know what I means, and I is for intersex.
Yeah. And could you explain to our listeners what intersex is?
Absolutely. We get this question a lot because, of course, we know lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or questioning. Intersex is a new initial to some folks. And it turns out that there's a lot of people who are born with ambiguous genitalia. And the thing seems to be that the doctors take care of that at birth. They'll assign somebody a gender to deal with.
Right.
And so one interesting thing is that the Intersex Society of America started here in Santa Rosa.
No kidding.
I don't think a lot of folks know that, but I always like to point that
out. Actually, I didn't know that.
Yeah, a number of years ago at our film festival, we had a couple of films about intersex folks. And it featured folks right here in our county.
Right.
And of course, lots of other places around the United States. Well, actually around the world. But
yeah.
So we like to point that out and give the Intersex Society of America a big shout out. We're thankful that they helped us change our initial index to be more inclusive.
And it's my understanding that the old term hermaphrodite is not what they prefer to be called anymore, right?
Well, you know what? I'm not an expert on this. I think probably everybody may choose an identity unto themselves, and maybe some people do choose that. But I think that is probably an old dated word.
Right.
But who knows? Maybe it'll come back into use just as queer has, for example.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Thank you so much for bringing that up. And it's I find a frequent part of my show is to speak not just of the LGBT community, but the LGBTQI community, asexual people as well, who are now underneath the queer umbrella. And that's something that I have yet to cover more deeply on the show, which I'd like to.
Yeah, I think we're a community that's more fun than not. That's what I would say. we kind of embrace our complexities. And if we aren't embracing our complexities, then we are out for a tough road ahead of us. That's what I think.
Absolutely. And it's a tough road, but it's a well-fought road.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, I mean, first off, you say in your bio here that you've been working with film festivals for some time. What made you get into it, Shad?
Well, we had made a film about 7, 8, 9 years ago now that was a historical perspective on the lesbian movement in the 1970s, from 1972 to 1980, when women were coming out as lesbians, and most of them had been married and had children. And at that point, there was no such thing as divorce laws were totally different.
Right.
And you had to prove someone of them was an adulterer in adultery in order to get divorced.
Really?
So women would be accused of adultery with another woman.
Mm-hmm.
That would then be in their court record, and then they would automatically be denied custody of their children because they were immoral women, because they were lesbians.
So you could lose access to your children if you had same-sex relations.
Absolutely. All the time. There was no such thing as there were no people.
You needed to have, there was no fault divorce, so you needed to have a reason. Once they had a reason, then that reason was used against people. And the name of our film was Mom's Apple Pie, continues to be distributed and shown throughout the world. Mom's Apple Pie, the heart of the lesbian mothers custody movement.
No kidding.
So there were basically in big cities on each coast where it was a little bit easier, they began to be groups. And the National Center for Lesbian Rights in San Francisco started as a group of lawyers who were protecting women. And then there was a group in Seattle who were a grassroots group. And so anyway, our film, I don't want to go into the film, but our film was about this movement, because you had to not just win custody, you had to win custody on an appeal in order for it to become precedent for others women. So it was a very long involved process. Women didn't have checking accounts.
Right.
Women didn't have anything like that.
So this is part of the battle for women's rights.
Exactly.
Incredible.
Exactly. So we made a film about that. And then we moved down here to Sebastopol, and we were like, okay, well, what are we going to do now? How are we going to meet people? How are we going to find a community when we're brand new? And so we started being filmmakers. We started looking at the Sebastopol Doc Fest, and I became a member of the organizing committee. Jody went during the Doc Fest. Jody and I would both work a lot, and we got to know other lesbians on the committee. And then we'd be going to Frameline every year in San Francisco.
What is Frameline?
Frameline is the Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender Film Festival that happens the 3rd and 4th weeks of June every year in San Francisco, and has 10 to 15 days of films. And so we'd go down there and we'd say, God, that's a great film. We really want people to see that. But it wasn't a documentary.
Oh, okay. So you were restricted by this film festival, this documentary film festival, and you couldn't add it. So narratives.
Right.
But interestingly enough, and importantly, the Sebastopol Documentary Film Festival always has had LGBT programming, just as part of their programming. They always have queer stuff.
So they've been inclusive.
Oh, it seems like it seems. I mean, at least all the years that we've been here, they've always had something. We haven't even really had to push.
Yeah.
To get
well, I mean, as a local
in.
Sonoma Countyite, it's like duh. It's Sebastopol.
Exactly. So anyway, so we became part of that, and so then about 6 women who were part of the Doc Film Festival, which is housed at the Sebastopol Center for the Arts, at the old Veterans Building in Sebastopol. So we started just showing a day of films to see if we could get people to come and if it was worth it. We did that for 2 years, and then we added Gary Carnavelli, who is gay, who has the website Gay Sonoma, and works on Outbeat Radio and
at KRCB, right?
At KRCB, and he's on the staff of KRCB also. And so we all kind of became co-producers, and we have switched it from a day of films to being OUTwatch Wine Country's LGBTQI Film Festival.
Are there enough LGBTQI films to fill up a film festival?
Oh my God. It's the opposite question. It's like, how do we eliminate the films? We have so many good films. We have 8 films this year, and we could have easily had 16 good films. We pride ourselves on bringing only the best gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, intersex films to here.
I feel like there needs to be a 24-hour channel on like public access where all these can be playing.
Actually, you can.
Oh, really?
If you go to Frameline, who runs the film festival in San Francisco, they have something called Frameline Voices, which is a free online film festival of films that have films. Most of them are shorts, but some narratives, some documentaries, some feature-length films that have played over the years. So you can just go to Frameline Voices, and you can watch films for hours for free.
Wow, incredible. The fact that so much queer cinema exists and that there is an atmosphere and an environment that's open to this sharing and creation is, I mean, I was just remarking in the last hour, the first hour of the show, how yesterday was Spirit Day, and against bullying and pro LGBT and blah blah blah, and the fact that we have such things available in this day and age is awesome.
And building on that, one thing that we're really proud of this year, something that's happening tomorrow, October 17th from 2 to 4 at the Arlene Francis Center, is our first ever programming for LGBTQI youth through age 22.
Oh.
And we're calling it Youthquake. So we're having a short film festival we found really great films for young people, and that used to just never ever happen. Several of them are actually written and performed and directed by young people up in Seattle, and it's really a great program. It's free. It's at Arlene Francis Center. They're helping underwrite it as well as the Sebastopol Center for the Arts.
AFC for the young people out there.
Yeah, totally. And I'll count up and see how many we've got maybe 8 short films that we're showing there, and they cover just about everything. Young gay men, bisexual youth, trans youth, people of color, lesbian, all different kinds of things. And it's really an excellent, excellent program. Again, it's free. It's tomorrow, October 17th, Saturday, at the Arlene Francis Center from 2 to 4. And we have pizza.
Oh, well, you got me sold right there.
There you go. There you go. So, so it's for young people and their families and friends. So it's a family event. We expect some young people to come in with their folks. That's totally fantastic. Or bring their other young folks along with them. Their gaggle of support network, as it were.
You know, tomorrow is a good day for LGBT because also there's the Sonoma County World Transgender Conference.
Exactly.
So you can go to the conference in the morning.
No, well, you can. The conference is all day, and in fact, we know that that's a conflict this year. And how stinking great is it anyway to have a community that's growing so well.
Right.
That we actually are able to have more than one thing going on at a time. And we sent some films up there for them to preview. That'll be in the OUTwatch program that's later it's coming up in a couple of weeks in November. So we are including them, even though we're not there ourselves.
That's fantastic.
We're happy to pass the information on. I see Shad wants to talk. We only have one microphone.
It's okay.
We have to push it back and forth. It keeps us kind of in control.
Yeah, if you would like to have us to have multiple microphones, visit kbbf-fm.org and hit the donate link. This is an all-run volunteer organization. We are a non-profit. Everybody here is a volunteer. If you like this show, or if you donate enough and say that you don't like this show, no, I'm just kidding. Even then, I probably won't go away. I'm just like, I'm like the common cold. I keep coming back. Shad.
Oh, anyway, I was just going to say that the films that we're showing this on tomorrow are from Germany, Seattle, but made by 15 to 20-year-olds in Seattle.
Germany. So you said this is coming from international sources?
Yes, we have a German film and an Israeli film, as well as films from the United States, 3 of them made by young people themselves about their own lives. And then people, and one of the longest ones is called Kumahina, A Place in the Middle, and it's from Hawaii, and it originally showed at the Sebastopol Documentary Film Festival, and it's about a transgender woman teacher who is teaching hula to a group of 6th grade boys, and a young woman who at this point does not identify as either he or she, is not identifying as transgender, but is decided to be a part of the boys' hula group and ends up leading the whole hula group for their final dance. And it's a great film, and it's really supportive and enlightening and is very much based in the Hawaiian culture.
Proof that we're brainwashing the youth of America.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding.
Love, it teaches us to love. The theme is you have people, it's clear that the Hawaiian culture loves, honors, and respects people who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender.
Well, that's a voice that we often don't hear about is the true Hawaiian, the native Hawaiian stance on LGBT as it pertains to their culture, which has been around long before white people ever landed on those shores.
Yes.
So could you talk about any of the other films that are, so how many films are playing tomorrow?
There's going to be 8 films tomorrow.
8 films tomorrow.
Most of them are about 5 minutes.
Short form.
But they're all shorts. The Kumahina are the longest. That's 25 minutes. There's a Israeli film that's 15 minutes long. And that's about, how would I describe that? It's about a young boy who is coming out both as gay and as an actor.
Oh, well, one of those is more horrific in process than the other. Probably the actor part.
Right. And then there's like a person, there's a woman who's in college, a young person in college, and she's doing a monologue, and her monologue is about being 50% everything, 50% white, 50% Latino, 50% gay, 50% straight.
I think in Harry Potter we call that a mudblood.
Right. So that's her performance about that.
Incredible.
So,
I mean, and you said there was more. There was so many more that couldn't get into the program and you had to. How do you go about picking and choosing these here to create your lineup?
Well, one thing that we do, and most programmers do for their film festivals, is they go and attend other people's film festivals, or they request the program from those film festivals. Another way of doing it is to just put out a call for entries. And when you do that, people generally have to pay. Well, you can set up it different ways, but generally film festivals have people pay to submit their entries. We don't do that. We curate the program because there's a lot of stuff out there, and we like to see how audiences react to the programming, and we'll talk more about that when we're talking about some of the OUTwatch programming. But for the youth programming at Frameline, they had a youth program as well, and I went to it, and then I interviewed the youth that came out of the show. Because I had the list, and I could hear the audience reactions, but I went up to the youth and asked them, which ones resonated and which ones, just didn't make it at all, even though it was shown here. And so we get a lot of information that way. But there's a lot of programming out there. I mean, even just for Youthquake, the Youthquake programming. We wanted about an hour and 20 minutes, hour and 15 minutes worth of material. And we had so many films to choose from this year. It's crazy. Really, it's wonderful because young people the program up in Seattle is put together by $3 Bill.
Is that the name of a
Is that the
production
name
group?
of the folks that are doing the video training?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, Shad's got to say something.
So $3 Bill are the people that do the Seattle Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender Film Festival. And they started a few years ago working with youth, teaching them, doing groups of 3 people, taking them through how to make a film. They write the film, and then they produce the film, and then they get the film shown.
A film boot camp.
Yes, exactly. And the guy who is now running it's called Real, REEL, Real Queer Youth is the name of the program. And the guy who's running it actually started out as a member of Real Queer Youth, and he has now runs it himself and is paid by $3 Bill to do this program.
Incredible. Hey, we're going to go away for a short break here. Here's some words from our sponsors. But after that, we will be back. You are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, episode 62, my interview with OUTwatch LGBTQ Film Festival, Jody and Shad, who are sitting here in the studio with me. We'll be right back after this short break here on KBBF 89.1 FM.
KBBF radio that motivates profound thoughts in children.
Enriquezca su acervo cultural. Escuche KBBF, la voz de la comunidad.
Right. Hello, everybody. Again, we are back. You are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews. This is my interview with Jody and Shad of the OUTwatch LGBTQ Film Festival, which is starting essentially this tomorrow. Yeah.
Well, the youth program is starting tomorrow. And then in November, the first weekend of November, November 6th, 7th, and 8th, we have the full film festival where we are showing 8 different films. Most of these are all going to be full-length features, feature narratives, or feature documentaries. And again, they're from 5 different countries. And it will start on Friday night and go through Sunday night.
So what does it cost to enter your event, and what are the details for it?
So you can do it. There's 3 different prices. On Friday, on all days, Saturday and Sunday, the films are $10 a piece. The last film on Saturday it's a fun film. It's called All About E, and it's from Australia. And basically, a Lebanese lesbian is a DJ.
Wait, did I hear you do a double take?
Is a DJ in a mafia gay bar. And by accident, she ends up with all of the money for the weekend from the bar. And that's the first 10 minutes, and it takes off from there. And the woman who made it, I heard her be interviewed at Frameline in San Francisco. And she said, I wanted to make a film that the characters were really developed, that it wasn't just like a basic coming out film. I wanted to have it be beautiful, and it is. You see all different parts of Australia you would not normally see, rural and urban. And then she said, I wanted to make a film where absolutely no one dies in it.
And this is a comedy as well?
It's definitely got its comedic aspects out.
Okay.
I don't know how it's a chase film, it's a comedy, it's a romance. There's a lot of different aspects to it. So that is our Saturday night film that starts at 8 p.m. And after that, seeing that it's a DJ, we're going to have a disco dance with Lori Z, who is a DJ from Sebastopol, and we're going to have a dance afterwards.
Is she a lesbian Lebanese as
well? Lesbian, I don't think she's
probably a white chick from.
Yeah, she's a white chick. Yeah, white chick from Hawaii. She's been in Sebastopol for a long time. Anyway, so she's going to do a dance, and that will be $20 for both the film and the dance.
Are straight people allowed?
Absolutely. We are open. If you want to come be part of us, we're welcoming you.
Actually, I think that's really a great thing about our film festival. We actually promote it in all different kinds of circles, and we tell folks, if you want to learn more about our community, this is a really great, safe place to do that. Which is why I mentioned the I in the LGBTQI thing at the beginning of the interview, because many people, when I introduce the festival and I'm announcing it in different groups, they'll say, well, somebody inevitably will come up to me afterwards and say, well, what does that I thing mean? And I think it's really great that they're brave enough to come and ask. But so I wanted to point that out. But it's really a great opportunity for folks to come and just see really, really wonderful films that are thematically all over the map as far as LGBTQI themes go.
So you're saying it's a safe space in the sense that people who are not people who are straight or cisgender or straight and cisgender to come and
or people who are questioning or just wondering what's happening. And actually, I wanted to go through all of the films.
Yes, absolutely.
So our opening night is called How to Win at Checkers Every Time, and it's from Thailand.
Oh, really? Now that's a funny one for my listeners. They know that I am from Thailand as well. So when does it take place?
It takes place now. And the three characters, there's four main characters in it. It's told from the perspective of the baby brother of an out gay man who is in a cross-class relationship. There is no issue with either family about this relationship. The two brothers are definitely poor working class people. And the boyfriend is a professional. His parents are professional. I don't know if he's upper class, but they're definitely professional. And then a young transgender woman. And when you reach 21 in Thailand, you have to go through a military draft lottery. And so this is the story of these three people who are turning 21 together, going through, and what happens to them in their relationship as they're dealing with it. And it's people look at it and go, wow, I had no idea that these things that would have been an issue in the United States still were just like totally out there and open in Thailand.
Wow.
And it's based on a story by two stories by a Thai author writing about Thailand. And it was done with his permission, combining these two stories into this film.
Absolutely. And that's on the first night?
That's at the first night. That's at 7:30 on Friday night. I'm sorry you can't be here because you're going to be on radio, but we'll have to figure out how to get you a copy of it.
Yeah. Don't worry, I won't let it leak.
Then Saturday, we're starting at noon with a film called From This Day Forward. It's a documentary.
Sure. She asked me if I wanted to talk about it. I can talk about it. This documentary is a new documentary. Also, it's made in the United States. And it's about a woman who has transitioned, who stays with her wife. And it's told through the eyes
Transitioned in what way?
She's transitioned from male to female.
Okay.
And she's older now, maybe towards retiring age kind of thing. And but it's told through the eyes of their in college daughter, who who then was her father, was transitioning to be a woman.
Oh, I've seen that on Amazon Prime. No, just kidding.
I think this one's different, just a little bit. But it's kind of like a Caitlyn, a real person, Caitlyn Jenner story.
Are you saying Caitlyn Jenner is not real?
She's absolutely real, but she has so many resources that other people don't have. And this woman stays with her family. The family makes big decisions around these things, and it's really, really moving.
So this
and
is,
absolutely,
yeah.
Caitlyn Jenner is real.
Yes.
It's a great story, but
Yeah.
it gives an added dimension to this story about Caitlyn that we are all
Right.
so familiar with right now. This brings another dimension in without the Hollywood lights, without the really famous family, without privilege.
So
Well,
this
they
is-
have privilege.
yeah.
I wouldn't say that they don't have privilege. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that this family's well employed.
Mhm.
Also,
A more middle class based
Yes.
background.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
As opposed to being
and outside of the
ultra-rich, yeah.
limelight and things like that, no big reveal that gets to
Right.
happen.
No
More of a
no
daily,
interview, yeah.
just a daily going through the change, which is it's really beautiful. It's really, really beautiful. And she's an artist, so we get to see a lot of beautiful artwork that goes along with the film and tells her story in a really beautiful way.
Thank you, Jody. That was that was the description of from this day forward.
Right, and that's $10 at noon. Then the next one is called The Surface. It's again a United States film. It's a narrative, and it's starts at 2:15, and it's about a struggling student filmmaker who goes to a yard sale and ends up buying old home movies from this guy. And the guy says, come back and, look at them. And if you want, I'll come back and help you figure out. And he goes back and the guy has died.
Oh.
But he continues he looks at these films, and it becomes his art project. And turns out he has lived in foster homes.
Mm.
So it's a whole thing about how he deals with art and how he deals the issues that come up with him about families. And there's some beautiful music and beautiful scenes, a lot of underwater photography, that type of thing.
Underwater, okay.
Well, there's a swimming pool. So that's at 2:15, and that's $10. That's $10.
After that one, we're showing Alto, which is, I guess in the general sense of, since we're kind of labeling films here, we'd say this one is a lesbian film. It's at 4:30 in the afternoon. Also made in the USA in New York, and the director Mickey Delmonico will actually be coming into town for this film.
Oh.
It's also $10, and it's just a really hilarious romp, mob romp, as it turns out. A woman reads about a murder in the paper, and her sister, who's obsessed with the mob films on television, tells her to go to the wake. So she goes to the wake and ends up embedded in this whole mess of of mob stories, and this guy chasing that guy, and it's really quite a wonderful caper. I don't want to give too much of it away, but it's really, very hot lesbians.
Yeah, I see here
Hot
two
lesbians.
sexy women fall for each other.
Yes, they're falling all over the place, as it turns out.
Oh my. I don't think you're charging enough.
No, I think probably not. We may choose to charge double on that one.
Okay.
Then that evening, Saturday, is All About E, which we talked about earlier. Then on Sunday noon, we start out with 2 for 1, which is a transgender film. In Seattle, there's a transgender film festival, and 2 for 1 won the Audience Award for Best Narrative up there. It's a great film. And what happens is a trans man, Adam, gets asked by his ex-lesbian girlfriend from when he was still a
Can you
woman.
describe for our listeners what a trans man is?
A trans man is someone who has transitioned from being a woman to a man. So he's a transgender man, and it's a fairly new transition. He had lived as a lesbian before he became a trans man. And his ex-lesbian girlfriend calls him up out of the blue and says, "Will you help me get pregnant?" And it takes off from there, and it's a comedy, has some great scenes in it. It's about real life. It's about this trans guy learning what it means to be a man, and dealing with that reality, but also a comedy. And also some good sex.
And one thing that we've been told by trans folk is that, especially trans men, is that they were really appreciative that the trans man, the man that plays Adam in this film is a cisgender male, and he's a gay man. So the trans community has commented to us that they were really pretty happy that, as far as casting goes, that they had chosen actually a gay man rather than a butch lesbian to play the part. And I really agree with that. I mean, the fellow that plays Adam is so adorable and just handsome as all get out, and he's a great actor, really makes for a marvelous, marvelous movie. Really a fun movie.
Absolutely.
So that one's 2 for 1. That one's 2 for 1, and it plays at noon on Sunday, November 8th.
Well, it's great that you're bringing a film with a trans man in it into this at all. So much of the media and film and cinema and television doesn't even acknowledge that trans men exist.
Exactly.
Yeah, it all seems to think that it's just all Caitlyn Jenners out there. You know.
Then the next film at 2 p.m. is going to be Liz in September. In 1980, there was a lesbian play called Last Summer at Bluefish Cove, which was the first big lesbian play that was performed around the United States. And what they did here was, in Venezuela, they took this play, they brought it up to modern standards. There's internet and cell phones and modern issues, and put it in with Venezuelan hot beauty people on Venezuelan hot beautiful beaches, and it's about a straight woman whose car breaks down, and she ends up at a hotel where a lesbian group of people are having their annual lesbian vacation. So, and then it takes off. So it's the exact same plot and same characters made modern and put in Venezuela.
What exactly does a lesbian vacation look like?
It's complicated. They're always complicated. No doubt. I just wanted to mention that tickets and more information about this film festival is located at OUTwatchFilmFestival.org on the internet, or one can drop by Sebastopol Center for the Arts, which is located at 282 South High Street in Sebastopol. Also, one can just phone them up and get tickets over the phone. The number there is 707-829-4797. And that would be, once again, OUTwatchFilmFest.org. OUTwatchFilmFest.org.
And again, we've got all the links and numbers available on the Queer Life website right now, thequeerlife.org, or just Google The Queer Life. Or you can also just Google Outwatch Film Festival, and you can find all the information available on the web.
Okay, there's a couple of more things I want to get in before we have to get off. And that's the last film is called Real in the Closet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a brand new doc. It's for a documentary. It's made by a guy in Novato. And he went down into the gay archives in San Francisco and started looking and finding all these old home movies.
There's a gay archives?
Absolutely.
They didn't tell me this at film school.
And it's actually, what is it? It's right off of the Castro. It's right in the Castro neighborhood. Anyway, he went and he found all these old home movies, and then he went to other places and found old home movies. So you're talking about movies from the 1930s to the 1980s. of gay, lesbian. I don't know if there's any early transgender things or not. But lots of all these old movies of people enjoying their lives. And then he's also talking about what it meant to find them, what they mean, and how you find them, that type of thing.
Wow.
So it's it's like a way to see our history in a great way, easily. And that's also $10. Pass.
One can buy an all film pass to our festival for a mere $75. Such a good deal. This closing film that we're doing also, it really is by Stu Maddox as the filmmaker, and it really does encourage folks to go through their, especially older folks, to go through their closets, as it were, and pull out any old footage and make sure that they get taken to archives. I can't even imagine how much of our history we're going to lose because everything is stuck in somebody's hard drive and then their computer dies, and with it the hard drive, and their photos never get printed out. And can you imagine? It's just a shame. And it's so great that Stu has taken the time to really archive some of this stuff. And the cool thing is if anybody has lived in San Francisco for any amount of time or in the Bay Area, if they come to this film, they just may see themselves or somebody that they know in this film.
Yeah.
Definitely places that they may remember and things like that. And that's one of the great joys of this film, is whenever he shows it, he wants people to shout out from the audience, oh, I've been there, or or fess up to places that they've been, or people that they recognize in there. It's always really fun. It's different every time.
Okay, one last thing here.
Okay, one last thing. We're a festival of parties. And if we have just between Liz in September, the Venezuelan film, and Reel in the Closet, we have an ice cream social, but we do our ice cream social. It has sweet cupcakes and champagne. And so to get into the ice cream social, it's free. You can get in with a ticket to either Liz or to Reel. And then we have, and with your pass, so we have 8 films be $10 or $20 for Liz, which is like a $90 if you want to go to the mall, and they're all worth seeing.
Okay.
For $75, you can go to anyone. You don't have to worry about whether they're sold out or not. And then you get to go to the VIP reception on Friday, which will be for sponsors and pass holders, and you get to have, it's Sonoma County. You get to have more wine and some great food. So buy a $75 pass, and you get to go to all the parties and all the films.
Great. I want to thank you both so much, Jody Leanne and Shad Reinstein of the OUTwatch LGBTQ Film Festival. Thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Thank you so much for having us. Appreciate it.
All right, everybody, you are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews. This has been episode 62. I want to bid you a wonderful evening and have a good night. Be prepared for the next show here on KBBF 89.1 FM.